the men's radio station and MenSpeak Radio. Today almost didn't happen because we got unplugged by the internet and it was a bit and usually what I'd go is Bertie, save me, and Bertie did actually kind of save the day. Everyone should have a millennial, and Bertie is my favourite one at the moment because Bertie does everything so well. So Bertie is a mental health speaker, and Bertie facilitates his own men's groups. And Bertie's thing, do you know what? I'm going to read what Bertie said. Bertie struggled with a plethora of mental health issues at university until he found men's groups and turned his life around. His passion is now making men's groups as freely accessible and available as AA groups. AA, it's like the 12-step groups, Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous and all of that. And it's only when Bertie said, this should be available to everyone like this, that I thought, actually, yeah. And hopefully there won't be so many people going to AA and NA and making suicidal phone calls and, all of that. It's like nip it in the bud. And I remember Bertie first showing up at men's groups thinking, oi, oi. So here's oi, Bertie. Welcome to the show. How are you?
How am I? I'm feeling really good. I'm quite happy how calm I am. And, considering I'm doing a public kind of broadcast sort of thing.
But you're great publicly. How many times have we taken to the stage and in front of mics and in front of lots of people and cameras and all
that? Yeah, I'm normally crapping myself, but...
Are you?
But it doesn't show, because people always say, oh, you look really, confident and natural.
Yeah.
But inside, I'm like just going crazy.
Talking about going crazy inside, what I want from you today is a pound of flesh on how you have managed to hold it together, turn your life around, what you've been through, but more than anything, it's like the tips that other people can take. How can young people, especially who very often don't have human people to turn to, they've got lots of computers and leaders of boys and things like that they turn to, rather than, how can I be the best of who I am? Am I making sense, or did I just get distracted by James playing with your mic? What are you doing?
Yeah, so I guess your question was, how did I turn my life around, and especially as a young person?
Yeah.
And I guess my answer, it's not going to be like a cohesive, easy, one-sentence answer.
I know, it's a very unfair question.
Yeah, I'll give it my best shot. So, I think I sort of started my journey to becoming like a whole, person, and like being happy, basically. I think, it started off small, just like exploring different things than I normally would have explored, reading books that I wouldn't normally have read. And
like what?
So like self-development type books, and like spiritual books.
Right.
And like I got into all of that. I had like a big like spiritual phase.
From like what? Okay. Do you know what? Let's rewind and tell the story. Because actually, wasn't life good until you left school?
Yeah, my life was really good. And it was only, when I got to university and I had all of this kind of expectation from, which I think came from other people initially, and like the media and American Pie and... all sorts.
So you thought that was going to happen, American Pie?
Oh yeah. I was certain that was going to happen. Like, that's how. Like, I was like, well, this is what happens. Clearly,
that's obviously what people need to do on Freshers Week: is get people to sign up to the American Pie Club to make sure they get their slice of adventure and badness, eh?
Yeah, but
so until school, things were great. and then you had a fantasy of suddenly these things would happen to you, or this is what happens to everyone. Is that right?
Yeah, well, I felt that I was sure of it. It was less than a fantasy. I was like, so my life is it's going to be like an American Pie.
Right.
You know, there's going to be parties. I'm going to meet my best friends for the rest of my life. It's going to be just really good fun. And on top of that, I thought I was excited for it, like academically as well. I was like, finally we get to study something interesting that we really like, and the professors are surely like these seasoned, wise old people.
What did you study?
So I studied. I'm stumbling a bit because I went in going to study multimedia technology and design.
Right.
But then I changed in Freshers Week to physics.
So how many days was that before you changed to physics? Wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a leap.
Yeah. Well, over the summer, I'd got just obsessed with physics. I was just reading physics books. I must have read about 30.
Wow.
Like popular science books.
Wow.
So, just angling myself to the camera because I've got a note. So, where were we? Physics.
You went from creative digital media to reading 30 physics books at the age of...
So I think I was 17 or 18.
Wow. Where did that come from?
I don't know, really. I read a book, I think what's that one? 2001? 2001 A Space Odyssey.
Right. That's not a physics book.
Well, in some ways it is like astronomy and science, popular science and sci-fi. There's a lot of like, this could actually happen.
Oh, like that.
Yeah, it's like it's possible.
Right. So, did that book kick things off for you?
There were a few things, I can't remember which exactly. There were some like YouTube videos as well that I remember watching and just being blown away by this guy called Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Right.
He does all these lectures on YouTube and these like thought experiments and stuff.
You know, suddenly you're sounding very, very millennial to me. Isn't that what millennials, is that how you pronounce it? Millennial, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't that what you lot do, is you kind of get an idea in your head, then you go down the YouTube hole and you kind of explore this and explore that and get into this and find out loads of information that us old people have had to spend years reading about, but suddenly you just download it into your head and you go down there.
Yeah.
And you guys, I find, are generally very, very, very smart. Very quickly you pick things up, you learn things, you get them, you learn how to apply them. It's absolutely amazing the way that your minds, I feel, are different to minds of older people. The way that you just pick things up and run with it. But my fear with millennials is, I'm trying not to be rude here, a disconnection, not knowing how to have facial expressions or communicate with each other or hang out and get on, unless it's a computer game or unless you send an emoji while having a kind of robotic facial expression in real life, because this icon can do it for me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, do you agree, or am I being overly rude?
No, I'd say that's definitely a big thing.
It's an issue, eh?
Yeah, and I think we were talking about this. I was talking about this with a few people the other day, and I think in some ways, it stems from the parents. Actually, like the parents spend as much time, if not more time, on their devices, and who can blame the kids for being on their devices the whole time?
So the parents fumble around on their devices, not really knowing how to do it. Meanwhile, they've kind of not only abandoned the kids emotionally, the connection's gone, but they're demonstrating almost like a core primary linkage is not with each other, but it's with our machines.
It could be. I think that could be one thing. I think, yeah, like, I mean, you know, in society, like, for me anyway, like, growing up, I think if I'd had, I don't know, like, a closer community, more stuff going on. And
but you did have a brilliant community with your friends in school, didn't you?
Yeah.
Do you mean after school?
No, I'm still kind of referring back to your point about the technology and how kids can get, like, because I was like, I did spend a lot of time, you know, playing video games and just being on my computer and stuff like that. And yeah, I don't know. It doesn't feel like a problem for me, actually, like how much time I spent on video games and on the computer when I was younger. But saying that, like, you asked about like the facial expressions and stuff. Yeah. I think I was really shy. I had no like social skills, and that could have something to do with the amount of time I'd spent just at a device.
Do you know? So you and I have known each other. It feels like years and years and years and years. I'm not very good with time. Do you remember, talking about it didn't really have a bad effect on you, do you remember what was the name of that guy who was the mouthpiece of the incels? Jack Peterson. Really, really nice guy. And we had him on as a guest on the MenSpeak Radio, a year ago or something. Do you want to quickly talk about that show and how he ended up where he ended up and what that was all about?
From what I remember, yes, the incels are the involuntary celibates.
Exactly, involuntary celibates.
Kind of like an online community. You know, they have forums and stuff where they talk about, you know, how kind of lonely they are and how bad they are with the opposite sex. And yeah, he was very much a part of that, and then he tried to distance himself from it.
Yeah.
And he was explaining his reasons for that.
But before he tried to distance himself, he became the mouthpiece of the incels, the media darling of the incels. And what I remember him saying in the show is that he was relieved that he actually belonged somewhere. And the club was, no one wants to sleep with us, we're unattractive. Apparently a lot of the incels have issues with jawlines. They feel like they haven't got big jaws and they're not good looking and, you know, all of that stuff. And in order to be an incel, you're kind of further down the pecking order if you've ever had a girlfriend, because the bigger the victim you are, the more you're in this kind of group. And I remember him saying something about his grandmother dying, if I remember, and he was brought up by women. I don't remember what the story was with his father, and he spent lots and lots and lots of time in his room playing computer games, chatting on forums, God knows doing what, and trying to find community, some connection there. And the biggest tragedy I remember with him was that he was bullied by girls. Now, how does a male deal with being bullied by girls? It's like, are you allowed to stand up for yourself, especially if it's school? And then the same thing happened in college. He moved away and the same thing happened. And it just went on and on. And then wasn't there a shooting or something? I think there were a few. And what the guys had in common is they said, we're incels. And it was like, we're so angry and we're so stuffed up because everyone hates us, and the media took it as we are part of an organization and this is what we do as an organization. Meanwhile, it's just individuals who happen to use this website or something. Is that right?
Yeah. And
then he was on CNN and all over the place doing interviews as the mouthpiece of the incels. And then he came on our show. We should get him on again, or we should replay that show, when he decided that he's not going to do it anymore, that it's not helping him or the other blokes be part of this kind of, hate to be rude, kind of loser crowd. And what really struck me is, so this is the worst of what can happen if kids are left alone in their bedrooms with their computers, playing computer games and whatever else it is that they play. It's scary. it's really scary. What's your take on that? I mean, did you spend a lot of time learning on computers? Do you have friends that were depressed and kind of down wormholes on their laptops trying to make sense of life?
I don't think I had many friends who were like that, but yeah, myself, I did spend a lot of time, on, like I said, either playing video games or on my computer, and I can see that in the old me, the kind of, oh, I'm so bad with women, and I'm you know, that was my main thing when I was growing up. I was sure that I was bad with women.
From what age?
As long as I can remember, really.
Really?
And I was just scared of them, really.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't have the social skills, and I very much kind of put them on a pedestal, and so I was just so nervous around them.
We've seen that so much, though, with Men Flirt. So Men Flirt is something. It was your idea, actually, wasn't it? Men Flirt.
Well, yeah. No, it's kind of like. I think you mentioned effort. It, but I made it happen.
Well, to be frank, I remember you showing up at the men's groups, you turning things around in your life, and then you saying, I want this and this and this and this, and somehow, for some strange reason, everything you wanted happened. So in a nutshell, when's the next Men Flirt on? Early May or something?
11th May.
Right, 11th of May. So Men Flirt is a one-day workshop where it's nothing to do with flirting, but it's about being your own authentic male. And the best bit out of that is a lot of people are really good blokes, but no one knows anything about it, because what goes on inside and the way that a bloke shows up and presents himself and reacts to people rather than responds to people is just like totally incongruent, 4 syllables, I'm quite proud, with what's going on inside. So Men Flirt allows people to gain feedback of who they are and how they come across. And that is absolutely huge, the way it's changed people's lives and changed their opportunities and etc., etc. But what I was referring to is the way that grown, powerful men suddenly, if there's a woman they're interested in, turn into scared little boys at the drop of a hat. What's that all about?
I don't know. I was just scared at the beginning. I wasn't like a big, powerful man or anything. So
it's so weird the way it's like if it's a woman who they don't fancy or they don't see as powerful or they don't think should be good for me, then they can hang out like friends. But if it's someone that they want, then they don't know the man in them to meet the woman in her. So what they'll do is become a little boy that needs the powerful woman or the sexy woman's approval. Meanwhile, do sexy women want sons? No. They want lovers. They want lovers. And you fundamentally changed because I remember, tell me if I'm taking over your show. There was that agent from Channel 4 who said, show me a man who has changed. And that's the first time that I really realized how much you changed, because what did we have? You made a 4-minute video. Go on, explain the video.
Well, it was a video showing me how I used to be and then how I am now, and that was like a combination of just footage from like one-to-one sessions we had and I guess men's group related events and speaking stuff.
Yeah.
And then so just showing different me, like speaking and just interacting. And
yeah. So what I remember is luckily, because we did a session while you were abroad. So we filmed a Zoom and you had footage of that. And when I first saw it, I thought, oh my God, I forgot that that's who you were. You looked so young and fresh and pure and innocent. And it's like, lovely boy. be careful with him. And it's like, that was 18 months ago. That could have been like 20 years ago, the way that you looked and the way your voice was and the way you came across. And then I think there were 3 little snippets of Men Flirt, and it was the part where whoever it is in the hot seat gains feedback about how they come across and adjusts their posture, facial expressions, whatever. And it's not how to be a fraud. It's more how to be more authentic. So I think we had about 3 of those. And then at the end of it, we had pictures with you with all your new friends. Pictures. I remember one picture where one of your friends was just looking at you from the corner of the eye. Meanwhile, you're the one with the babe. Pictures of you with women. And the agent absolutely loved. I should chase him up. Who knows? Maybe we've got a Channel 4 deal out of this. But he loved it. But the way that you changed in 18 months was absolutely phenomenal. So we should go back to the story in a minute. But the way that you have, I don't know whether this is a Bertie thing. It's like you got it and you embodied it. Now, what did you do? What did you do so right to change yourself, to grow so fast, to show the world who you are and turn things around? So now we've got a gap from school was great, you spent a lot of time in your, well, maybe not in your bedroom, on your computer and stuff. There were social issues and you were let down by uni because they didn't provide you with grown-up Disneyland like in the movies. And you changed from creative electronic to physics in the early days. So between there and the men's groups, let's hear the story.
Yeah, so at university I just became sort of increasingly isolated and then depressed, and then I had anxiety, and then I got insomnia, and then I was having panic attacks.
Wow.
And then I had something called derealization, which is a mental health issue which barely anyone's heard of.
Go on, explain.
But it's kind of like the real world looks like a video game.
Yeah.
Or like it's like I'm watching a film instead of like living my life.
So you're observing life and you're not part of the story.
Yeah, and it's
Right.
like everything's 2D, flat, and like colorless.
Yeah.
And it's just like a terrifying place to be. It's very like, again, even more isolating.
Yeah.
And so I was having these problems. And
how long before all of this? Because that's a long list of heavy, intense life.
Yeah.
How did it all happen? Within a week or over a few months? Or
I'd say it happened. It mainly started to kick in at the summer or after my first year.
Right. So all of this happened over 1 year.
Yeah, I think it was the insomnia that really kicked everything off.
Right.
Because I think it was during the summer that I suddenly had insomnia and I couldn't sleep.
Right.
Whenever I would just about drift off to sleep, then like it would be like an electric like spark in my brain, and I would wake up, jolt up like that.
Oh my God. Insomnia is just so... I know a lot of people, there's something in the air over the last couple of years. So many people are not sleeping and they're going crazy. Absolutely crazy. But what I realised, because I've been through it for about 2 days recently for the first time in my life, is it's made me so much more vulnerable, so much more emotionally available, so much more in tune with myself, and fearful and bonkers. And on those last 2 words, I think it's time to go into the ads, and then we're back.
You're listening to
Men Radio Station, where men really talk.
Hello, I'm Lawrence Davis. I'm the proud owner of Stoughton Cigars in Mayfair and Knightsbridge. For the past 60 years, we've been providing the world's best Cuban cigars. When it comes to cigars, there's no other than Stoughton Cigars from Mayfair and Knightsbridge. We at Stoutons would like to wish Men's Radio Station every support in their task for helping men's emotional and mental well-being. Check them out. Men's Radio Station, where men really talk.
Your call is important to us. You are now number 15 in a queue.
At Profile Insurance Services, we treat people as individuals. You'll speak to a real person, not a call centre. We're fast, small, independent, and have a superb team of insurance specialists. And they're really nice too. Advice is totally free and we cover everything. Call 0208 931 3306. Listeners to Men's radio station won't pay a penny for admin fees. That's 0208 931 3306. With Profile Insurance Services, you're covered.
Let me tell you about Jermyn Street Theatre. We are the smallest theatre in the West End, only 70 seats. We are a registered charity and not grant-aided, run by a small team of volunteers and trustees. Jermyn Street Theatre is a hidden gem. It combines the comfort and convenience of the West End with the intimacy of a studio. Every seat has a perfect view of the stage, and even a whisper is audible. This is a secret theatre in the heart of the West End, once found, never forgotten.
Slick 50 Barbershop is in Westcliff-on-Sea, Essex. Elaine, specialist in retro haircuts, has been trading since 1987. Music and lifestyle are her inspiration. You can also purchase merchandise and Toot Sweet pomade. The shop is open Tuesday, Thursday, Friday and Saturday. Please call 01702 390 916 to book your haircut. Visit barbershoprockabilly.co.uk, Slick 50 Barbershop on Instagram. Gracias.
Not ready for making tax digital? Struggling to keep up with changes? Or do you simply need a friendly and reliable face to handle your accounting needs? With over 20 years of experience, BBK Partnership in 5 London areas provide personal advice, and all our partners are readily available in person and by phone at times that suit you. Give BBK a call today, 0208 216 2520, or visit our website, bbkca.com.
Do you know what's really crazy is, firstly, how much I talk. Meanwhile, we're here to listen to you. Secondly, the reason I talk so much, especially in this show, is because I'm really excited. And we see each other most days, we talk most days, we do so much together. And I'm still excited to be sitting with you and chatting things through. Maybe it's because we generally get on with it and we haven't really had much of a chance to talk about it. So I'm going to keep stum.
All right.
Tell us about what happened at uni.
Yes.
And you tell your story.
So I was just talking about the insomnia that I had, like, quite out of the blue during my the first summer, at the end of the first year at uni. And I think what happened after that? So that kind of, it feels like that kicked off the other stuff. It kicked off the depression. Like, I could feel something brewing before that. You know, I was isolated, I was lonely, I was disappointed by uni. And then I had this insomnia, and then I think that's where anxiety came from, and panic attacks as well. Like,
that must have been scary.
Yeah, they were very scary.
While 2 very quick questions, and they're relevant, and I won't go on.
Right.
Number 1, what were the other kids like, and what made you different to the others? And number 2 is, who did you turn to? Because, like, panic attacks are really, really scary.
Yeah.
And what you were going through must have been really tough. So,
the other kids seemed to just there were a couple of people that I knew that said, oh, yeah, we've got, depression or something. I think, a few that said they were depressed. But I didn't hear of anyone with panic attacks or anxiety or insomnia or the other stuff. And yeah, that's actually a big part of it, is like, I felt very much like, what's wrong with me? Everyone else seemed to be making friends and getting on well and be happy and joking and laughing. And I just didn't feel like I could connect with anyone at university.
Also, I wonder whether it's because you're not a drinker or a drugger, or you don't get up to any shenanigans and stuff. You're a good, wholesome, single bloke. So, text us your phone numbers and profile pictures, and let's see, join Bertie's queue.
Yeah.
So do you think that's part of it, that you were a lot of the others just like getting drunk and shagging around and trying to avoid their feelings or something?
Yeah, there was a lot of that. I mean, I was still, drink a little bit, like in the first year of university. By the second, but in general, yeah, I was kind of over drinking. I'd done that at secondary school, and it doesn't excite me much anymore.
Right.
And I think it's kind of similar how you talked about, like I wanted depth.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it. I didn't realize that, first of all, it's possible.
Yeah.
To like people who because I really like joking around and bantering and all that, but I need depth when I speak to people. I need to be able to speak about whatever's going on, from the taboo, even if it's like really taboo.
Yeah. Tell the truth.
Yeah.
Rather than pussyfooting on the surface.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is exactly why I started the groups in the first place, however many, 16, 17 years ago, is, saying to all my friends, yeah, I want to hang out, and I want to take the piss, and I want to have a laugh, and I want it to be sharp, and blah, 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 and I need depth. So it sounds like you're saying exactly the same thing, but maybe 10 years, so I would have been in my mid-30s, and I'm 54 now. It was very difficult to say mid-50s. I'm not until next year. So you started this much younger than me. Your needs kicked off a lot younger. And who did you turn to in your times of need?
My mum.
So did I. Thank God for our mothers.
Yeah.
And do you think there's anything wrong with turning to your mother?
No.
Neither do I.
I think she was really good at calming me down as well.
Yeah, same with mine. They get us. And maybe it's the female nurture that we needed for safety. And I would say I come from a matriarchal family. Would you say the same?
Yeah, yeah.
So we both come from similar backgrounds. We had similar issues. I mean, I don't know what it was like when I went. I don't think I had as bad a time as you. But then one of the girls who I was in Wales at my first college went to my second college in Southampton with me. So I had company. And I met people. It was very different. But yeah, thank God for our mums. And here we are talking about, well, launching a charity, you taking men's groups into schools and unis. And it's all about men, and men hanging out and men being real. And we were both, am I allowed to say it? Mummy's boys. So your mum was there to help you through and talk you through this. And tell us more about the story. So what happened from uni? And
yeah, so as I was saying, I was asking the question, what's wrong with me? Why can't I make friends properly, and why can't I just enjoy my time here? And it was meant to be the time of my life. Why is it feels like the worst time of my life?
Yeah.
And I basically ended up just dropping out of university because it just I was really struggling. I had all these depression, and then I had suicidal thoughts as well. And I think that's like a logical result of like always asking what's wrong with me.
Yeah.
It's like and just being in so much like pain, basically like emotional pain, I used to call it. And and that was the only thing I could, I guess that's what I was driven to.
When you got to the edge with the suicidal thoughts, what were your thoughts?
They were just kind of like wanting, it was there's something wrong with me, so why don't I just, end it, or I can't go on, I can't keep just feeling this much pain. So it was like overwhelm as well. So you kind of went in your head with the pain to try and solve it, and the only solution you could come to was suicide. Yeah.
I can relate to that. The first time I was asked to speak at the Being a Man Festival at South Bank, that's exactly what I spoke about, is the dangers of taking emotional issues to the head. Because when I took it to my head and I tried everything, logically, the only answer I came up with was removing myself from the situation. Now, there's a big difference between committing suicide and removing myself from the situation. Removing myself from the situation makes it just a logical, simple solution. But we're talking about suicide. So I remember in that talk saying, if that's where thinking takes me, I had to learn to stop thinking and start feeling, get out of my head. It can be a dangerous place, a very dangerous place. I had to admit that I didn't ever really sort too much out in my head. I pretended to be in control, and I kept finding things to try and fix and control. But it didn't get me any solutions, and I needed to get out of my head and engage with life. Is that a similar place that you were at?
Yeah, and I think it's talking to people as well. It's talking about what, for me, it was talking about what I was going through. That's the thing that helped stop this, like, you know, internal just like compression, and then all these feelings like getting worse and worse.
Right. Was
talking about it, telling someone. And in fact,
you talking about your mother or other people?
Anyone. So
right.
I did used to tell my mum.
Yeah.
At some point, though, there was some limit where she couldn't help, and I needed to tell other people.
Yeah.
And yeah, I actually went to the first group I went to, like a support group in when I was studying at Bristol, and that was a really liberating experience to be able to tell my story in front of tell people what I was going through in front of a group of people.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think that was the main thing that helped get me out of my head, telling people about it. And also it's interesting because that was the first kind of group I went to, and the support group was good, but it also felt kind of limited. It was like everyone there was very in need of support. You know, everyone was very like suffering and very sad and had all these terrible stories. And like I said before, I just wanted to socialize. I just wanted to hang out and have fun.
So you wanted a life beyond the sadness and the survival.
Yeah.
You wanted to start living.
Yeah.
Rather than make a personality out of the tragedy, actually.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I kept looking, and then I found men's groups, and at first I wasn't quite sure about them, but I did find it very helpful to tell my story. And I remember two incidents which really made me just came to love and helped me change a lot. And that was one was like seeing a guy at the men's groups who was just a little bit older than me, who I saw as what I thought back then was kind of a cool guy, like a cool normal guy.
Yeah.
And he was talking about his issues, and they were so similar to mine. And
so if someone as cool as he could have the same issues as you, then
and he was saying, I love coming to these men's groups because I think they're really good for me.
Good.
So if someone like you're saying, as cool as him can love these men, because I used to keep them secret.
Yeah.
But if he was saying I could love these, and I love just talking about what's really going on, talking about my issues, it gave me permission.
Yeah.
And so that was the one big thing. Another big thing was being in the middle of this like full shitstorm of emotional pain and like suicidal thoughts and anxiety and depression, and then sharing that in the middle of a group. I must have been going for like 10-15 minutes, and then I think you were facilitating, and you said, can anyone else relate to this?
Yeah.
And like 8 men of varying ages and varying backgrounds like put their hands up.
Yeah.
And that really kind of broke some sort of spell for me, because I thought my pain, like I thought it was something, like I was saying, it was something wrong with me.
Yeah.
And there was some issue that I had, some brain defect or something, which meant that I was feeling this way, and it was kind of special to me. But then it was like it was just a really amazing thing, like epiphany, to think
you're not alone.
I'm not alone, and these people have been through this exact same thing.
Is there anything wrong with you?
No.
How did you find that out?
By finding basically people who are more like me and surrounding myself with them.
And would you say that the groups is for surviving people or lost people, or is there a cross-section? Or
yeah, it's a cross-section. Some people are, it changes. Some people are sometimes, in need of support. Some people are just there to hang out and take the piss. It's all sorts, really.
So in a way, would you say it's similar to the good times you had when you were in secondary school, but everyone's a bit older and a bit hairier and a bit more able to say this is what's going on, but otherwise it's hanging out and good fun?
Exactly, yeah.
And I love the way older blokes were jealous of you. It's like, wait a minute, he's so young and he's doing it now and it's not fair, I wish I had that, blah, blah, blah. But the way that you were accepted and respected and then took over. Tell us since you've... actually, I was going to say, tell us since you've joined the group what you've been up to, because you've done a lot from making videos, running your own groups, taking groups to schools and unis and stuff like that. But before that, how was it for you? And it's an unfair way of saying it, but I'm going to say it because it's on my mind. Leaving your mother and becoming one of the men.
How was it? I think, it was not an easy task, and I was still quite. I definitely had some hookups around being a man, and
what do you mean hookups?
As in, like, I even felt shame around saying, like, I am a man,
because men in my view back then were like, bad people who did bad things, and were like, I had that. Men are stupid oafs, not to be trusted, that kind of thing. And maybe because we were both, I guess, coming from matriarchal families, there wasn't a lot of space, or the women told us, and that's what I believed. That's what you believed as well?
Yeah.
And would you say that from the people that we have been around for years now, we've discovered good men, bad men, ugly men?
Yeah.
So there's a good cross-section, and you found the kind of man that you are, beyond who you were from your family, from your mother, from your judgments about men?
I'd say so, definitely, yeah.
So what you've done, you tell us what you've done.
Which part?
Well, because we've had, you filmed, 2 men camps?
Right.
Men Fire. Yeah. You've filmed all the Men Facilitate trainings, how to facilitate a men's group. You've been holding your own groups. You've taken men's groups to the boys. And I think that is one of the most important things that you've done.
Yeah.
So tell us about the boys groups.
Yeah. So, the most exciting thing I think you mentioned, of all the stuff you mentioned, were the boys groups. And that was, I got invited to facilitate a boys group. So I did the training, your men's group facilitation training, and I've been running normal adult monthly men's groups since June last year. And I ended up meeting this lady who's running these mental health projects in schools, and I told her what I was doing, and she was like, well, you should come to the school and do it at the school, do a boys group at the school.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, sure. And it's quite funny looking back. I was a bit, even before it, I was tired, and I was like, is this going to be any good? Is this going to be just like a mess? Is something going to go wrong? Or, are the kids just going to take the piss out of me and I'm just going to...
Aren't kids scary?
Yeah.
Especially boys.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, oh my God, these unruly little vicious things. How am I gonna survive it? And is that the kind of stuff?
Yeah, and I found out afterwards that they were apparently the troublesome...
So you didn't find out
kids.
until later that
No,
you
they
got the
told me
ruffians?
afterwards. So, but anyway, I went along and, like, pretty much from the get-go, it was just, my jaw was basically on the floor, like, because these kids were just sharing so openly and, like, being really, like, vulnerable and really just, like, commendable in how, openly they spoke about stuff going on for them, including, like, deaths in the family, like, recent deaths in the family.
How did you get the ruffians to open up like this?
When people ask me that, I think it was just, well, first of all, it's of course like the MenSpeak men's groups format and structure. I think is just, there's something about it that really allows for a safe space and for people to start opening up and sharing.
Yeah.
Just the questions and the ground rules and everything. It really works.
Simple, eh? It's so simple.
It's so simple, but it's something about the intention to do it, and the fact that it's not, overly dramatic. It's very grounded. It really works. And on top of that, I think it was the fact that I'm younger, and I was able to kind of remember the kids were 16, 17, so I was able to share what my life was like and relate to them. Because I'd quite recently been in that place. That was only like 10 years ago for me.
So you shared yourself first.
Definitely, I shared my shit. I shared the stuff my issues, my challenges in life, and that really helped them to open up.
So you made it safe for them.
Yeah. As soon as I talked about university and challenges I'd had there, like, all of them kind of perked up and like sat forward in their seats and were like asking me questions like, derealization, what's that? I think I had that as well after I smoked some weird weed, and then it was amazing how it like opened people. And another guy was like, my college was exactly the same for me. Everyone told me college was going to be amazing, and I haven't made a single friend in college.
What a gift.
Yeah.
So you brought reality to these kids who didn't have anyone to go to, no one to ask, no one to tell them the truth, and you just kind of like showed up, opened up, and made it safe for them. Now, before we move on, could you tell us where people could go to read the blogs that you wrote after your groups?
Yes. So my website, BertieHarriman-Smith.com.
Spell?
BertieHarriman-IMAN Smith.com.
And Bertie was talking about the check-in round and the ground rules and stuff. mensgroups.co.uk. Download them all and use them for free, and there are videos and stuff. So get on with it. But yeah, people I know, because I was told, have cried when they read what you wrote there. So tell us more about your groups though, because there was one person because they were talking about death quite a lot in one of them.
Yeah. Well, I've only done 2, and in both of them they've spoken quite a lot about death, deaths in the family, and it's because we have one of the questions in the check around when we're doing the boys groups of the last time I cried was, and then people fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
So yeah, the most heartbreaking one, which I haven't told in a while, so I might choke a bit, is there was a guy who his mum had made a memory box when she died from cancer about 10 years before. So a memory box is a collection of things for her children to remember her.
Yeah.
And he had opened the memory box 2 weeks before this group. And yeah, he kind of went step by step through it. So It was really touching and moving, as you can tell.
So you held a space that was safe enough for this guy to step by step talk about getting the memory box and opening it, and his mother, who died 10 years previously. What was it like to hold that space and to be with these kids?
Yeah, it was really magical. Really magical. And he was just, I wouldn't have expected it from him. You know, he was quite a tough looking kid, it didn't look like, I wasn't sure if he was into it or not.
Yeah.
So I was just so blown away when he shared that. And yeah, I felt so grateful to be in that group and to be able to listen to these kids and to be able to give them the space to talk about that stuff.
You created the space and you held the space to allow something like that. I mean, imagine a boy like that having to tough up to survive all of this. That could have quite easily, possibly changed his life, changed all their lives, allowed them to get real rather than just be tough and survive life. That's a lot of lives changed. So would it be cheeky to say, Bertie, what is your purpose right now?
Yeah, so that was that first group where he told this story. After that, I was like, well, this is my purpose. This is to facilitate men's groups for young men and tell my story as well.
And this is where we go full circle, because I find with my work that 9 times out of 10, a man's purpose, one way or another, is to put right what wasn't right or didn't go right in his own life. And how honourable and simple and natural is that? And you've picked up the tools like so easily. You've just stepped up to the mark. And not just done it on a small scale with these people, but where are we with the charity? Tell us about the charity.
Yeah, so we are almost there. I've been filling in the application form for the past month or two and getting that all together. But yeah, I think we're going to apply probably by the end of the month, and then it can take 4 to 6 weeks, but it might take longer if the charity decides to if they want more information or if they want to investigate stuff.
Yeah.
So there's no telling after that, really.
But fair to say we'll probably launch the MenSpeak charity this year. And the object of the exercise with the charity is to enable people to train, to hold their own groups, whether it's free or whether we train them, to take it into their own communities and to basically pass it on. It's fine that we do this, but the way that your vision has been big enough to say this should be available to everyone, everywhere. And the way that you speak about things, I mean, forget about my story and my experience of this, but even your story so far is this could save lives, this could save people, this could save marbles, people could, retain their sanity. This could really bring men to enable men to contribute to their families, to their communities, and to raise boys in a way that maybe has been lost in society. In such a simple way of showing up and being able to communicate and being able to be heard. Wasn't there something that you said about, there's something about men's groups where it's fine to have places to go, but what about people being heard or something? Do you remember?
Maybe it's about kind of who's listening to,
Yeah, that's exactly it. The way you put it was so much more eloquent because you're obviously far more educated than I am.
So I think, we were talking, I think I got this from you, but it's like, who really, where as a guy can you really go to talk and you'll be heard, and not kind of trivialized or dismissed or ignored or in some way, have the conversation shut down.
Yeah, fixed, or have another pint and shut up and stop being such a silly ass.
Yeah.
And for me, that's the difference between a boy and a man. A boy doesn't know how to receive this and how to hear it and how to do something with it. It's fine to say men don't speak, but men need somewhere to speak and be heard and be received.
I heard someone put it really well. They said it's fine telling men to speak about their emotions more is kind of like telling fat people not to eat as much. It's like they know they've got to do it. It's just like they can't. They don't have the tools.
I remember something that I said a long time ago. It was about telling men to speak and to get over their mental or emotional health issues. And so many issues are called mental health issues, and very often I think they're emotional issues or social issues. But I said telling a man to get over his mental health issues is like telling an amputee to just grow it back. So what are your intentions with the charity? Because we're kind of sniffing around Camden Council and what do we need? So, okay, here's me coming clean saying I've been so busy with clients and groups and admin and media staff. I've been turning into a little star that, Bertie, you have saved the day with me being able to pass things on to you. And you're pretty much championing the charity. So what do we need? What do we need to make this happen? And what is your vision with this?
Well, it's not an easy answer, is what I've found. It's like,
well, we've got 2 minutes.
Great. Yeah. Well, I spoke to the Camden CCGs the other day, actually, which are clinical commissioning groups who are basically the best people to approach about this, and they're saying that we've just got to continue to make links, make ourselves known, so that we become more and more trustworthy. And if we really want to make it, spread it as far as something like CBT, then CBT did a load of like testing and trials and stuff like that.
Right.
So we've just got to, just keep plugging away. It's a lot to do.
And it's amazing how many, coming from where we're coming, who we're attracting. It's ridiculous who we're attracting, the opportunities coming our way. I mean, today I emailed you with someone who's researching men's groups and the benefits of men's groups to get statistics, blah, blah, blah. So here's to more magic. Total respect at the way you've grabbed your life by the balls and turned it around. You have taken your balls back, owned them, sorted your own life out, and the way you're passing it on. So good on you, Bertie. You're a mensch.
Thank you.
And I think we are being squeezed out of the airways now. So thank you for listening to the MenSpeak Radio Show on the Men's Radio Station. Over and out until next week.